right, and we're live here at the station of Decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
I'm Treacherous Trista.
Exactly. And now my mouse is broken. But we are joined by the fine people here of Slime City and Slime City Massacre for the 10th reunion of Slime City Massacre. We have the director, Greg Lamberson. You wave so low. We have the stars of the original Slime City here. We have Mary Bogle and Craig Sabin.
Hi.
Hello. And of course, we have Scream Queen Brooke Lewis Bellas and the iconic Debbie Rochon.
Wow. Hello.
Hello, it's good to have everybody here. Hope everyone's having a good time watching. First of all, Greg, what's your obsession with slime?
I don't have one.
Oh, okay. You've gotten over it.
I wrote that script back in 1984. I've gotten over my obsession with slime. Although, if you remember, there's a scene in the beginning where Robert Craig and Tom Merrick are moving Robert into the building, and they're carrying this mattress up the stairs. And Tom does that routine where he's rubbing the mattress over his crotch when Mary walks out in her wig. That was actually the mattress I grew up on, and there's a big petrified purple stain on it from the second edition of the slime that came with the lens. I once spilled it.
I don't know what was going on when you were a kid.
There was a connection.
Greg,
I used it.
You're just covering for TJ. You know, Tom left that purple spot there. That's what he does.
Listen, what you guys did in between setups, none of my business.
Yeah.
We'll cover that on the next commentary track.
Okay, here's my question real quick. What happened to that guy? Do you know?
Oh, Tom?
What happened to the mattress?
Yeah.
Well, he was one of the mercenaries in Slime City Massacre. In fact, he was a mercenary who was killed by Agent Orange, your character.
Right. No, I remember him. He wrote he wrote music.
I brought him back, and then Dick Beale, who played the cop, I brought back to Slime City. So I got both of those.
Wow. Because I knew he was a vampire in your other movie. But for some reason, I didn't know he was like the guy who wrote one sentence of poetry a year.
No, that's Dennis Embry. That's Dennis Embry.
Oh, okay.
Dennis disappeared. He was an interesting guy, right, Robert?
Yeah.
Dennis Embry, who played Roman.
Yeah.
And he disappeared
down for the part.
I've always suspected that AIDS caught him during the epidemic because I have looked for him and he just vanished.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He was one of the East Village actors that, authentic to that area. Mary was what, Upper East Side, Upper West Side back then?
Yes, Upper East Side at that time.
Yeah, and I was Upper East Side for a long time.
And I was wherever cheap rents were. Actually, we were in Brooklyn at that time. Yeah, we were.
Yeah, you and I were both Bay Ridge then. The film was shot in our apartment, which really was barely Robert's apartment since he was kind of shoved out by wardrobe.
What are you going to do?
Did you get involved so you could use the mattress? Is that how you're going to involve in the film?
No, that whole situation was really weird because I was in a and here's the thing, and this has very little to do with the movie. It has more to do with Greg as a human being. But like I was in this like horrible toxic relationship, and Greg, like when it like foundered, Greg took me in the apartment, and then we wound up moving to Bay Ridge, and that's where everything happened, and so it was a great like landing pad for me. I don't know if I would have made it out of that era of my life if not for having Greg's place to crash at and him sort of taking me in for a while. So but after Slime City it was time to go. It was definitely like
during Slime City it was time to go.
How about Mary? How did you get involved?
Casting, right? Yeah, Greg put an ad, I think, in Backstage, right, at that time, and I don't know. Does Backstage still exist anymore?
It does.
It does, yeah. Okay, so he put an ad, and I don't know. I don't remember auditioning. I just remember the shoot.
You auditioned. We tried to make Johnny Gruesome before we made Slime City. And we didn't make Johnny Gruesome for 30 years. So you sent me a headshot for Johnny Gruesome. Robert, you remember we lived in the studio then, me and Nelson, and we would get like 500 headshots a day. It was insane how many envelopes we were tearing open, and Robert would critique the headshots. And I've never forgotten, like, when an actress sends a postcard with her doing the goofy face and the serious face and some other expression. Well, they obviously don't know what they're doing. And I was taking all these notes from him because I didn't know.
Wait. Greg, get it right. The composite.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's what they called it.
The three personas.
Glasses.
Yeah,
Right.
Glasses and like.
Mary did come to the Brooklyn apartment and audition for the part in Johnny Gruesome, and then when that didn't happen, and I remembered that headshot for Slime City. So I mean, she wasn't competing with anyone for that role. She was competing with a number of people though to play the heavy metal vixen next door, and they all fell through. And she actually didn't audition for that one. Remember, Mary, the day that we said
we were already
shooting the movie.
So that was just out of necessity that she plays the dual roles. So it's like out of necessity that she played the two roles. It wasn't written that way.
No, it was so fun though. That part was way more fun than Laurie.
Thank God that you played both the parts. And you know what? I swear to God, if you told somebody that they were different people, they would believe it.
Oh, it took me a while.
I'm so surprised by that because to me it just seems so obvious. But
me too.
People have said that over the years. It's great.
Watching the film over and over all these years, I see all the different things people do with their faces. You know, it's just ingrained in my memory, and I see them in both characters.
But I never saw Laurie slink out of an apartment like
that.
I
was just thinking about that. It's like, how was it? Who leaves a room like that?
I remember telling you I wanted you to do that, and you were like, "What?" Okay.
I took directions.
Awesome.
It's a classic moment.
Oh.
So you filmed that at your place, so I assume the cleanup wasn't a big issue then.
It was rough, especially on Robert. Robert's cleanup was rough. We were finding bits of Robert in the shower for months afterwards.
Yes. There was the deal was we had Scott Coulter doing the effects. And he did all these applications and the whole mask and everything. And as the shoot kept going, he got more and more quick with taking off the applications. He was very careful to put them on, and initially he was very careful to take them off. You get the Q-tip in there and work the adhesive a little bit and start to take it off. But as the shoot continued and we were all getting increasingly exhausted, he just started like tearing more and more. And on the last day of shooting, when I wore the application, he didn't even bother taking it off. He was like, "Do it yourself." So I was like, "Oh, I can't."
What was some of the interactions like, Mary, like the slime kiss, when he's covered in slime?
I just looking at that the other night thinking, oh my God, that's so gross. But I don't know. We were all pretty serious at that time. Everybody just, wanted to get the job done and get it done right. So I don't actually remember. It's like looking at it now, it's like, how did we do that? But I don't really remember at the time having a problem with it. I don't know. I guess I like slimy men.
That's good to know.
We were very tired, for one thing. And remember, you would scamper off and find some available room and take a nap until we needed you. And literally, for one take, I woke you up and put the meat cleaver right in your hand.
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, get to it."
Yeah.
Do you remember when Robert lifts you up off the floor and puts you on the table, the easel table? Do you remember that whole thing collapsing?
Yes.
And then we had to take a break while Scott and Tom got the tools out and fixed it.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. And every time I look at the movie, I look at that scene. Oh yeah, there it is. I look at the scene where I throw you up onto the drafting table, and I know Greg cuts it just at the moment, just before it collapses.
The outtake was pretty funny. I wish we had known to save outtakes on film back then, because it goes down and Mary's legs go flying up out of frame, and it was awesome.
I'm like, oh.
Nobody got hurt in the making of that film.
Well, that's good.
Not on that one.
Yeah, so that wasn't your real sausages that came out of your belly.
Actually, it was. I'm a method actor. I don't mess around.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Why did you go with yellow for the slime? Because I think it stands out more, because I think people think green when you think slime, but Slime City, it's a yellow, mustardy kind of color.
I wrote green in the script, and Scott decided he wanted to go with opaque, and somehow that became yellow. So that was definitely not my original intention, and that's why in Slime City Massacre, Keelan Patrick Burke, embodied in this bottle, his slime color is green.
Mhm.
Very good.
And he plays the same Zachary, he's possessed by the same character that Robert was. So I got to have it my way in the end.
Yeah. When did the decision to do a sequel come about?
Later.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So for the 20th anniversary of Slime City, Robert, Craig, I never call him Craig, and Mary and I were invited out to the Beloit International Film Festival for a reunion screening of Slime City. The reason being that Rob Tomorrow, who did the score, was heavily involved with that festival, and they paid for us all to come out there. And for some reason, the three of us wound up in a hotel separate from all the other filmmakers across the state line. So we were sort of on our own when we weren't exploring the town. And one day we were hanging out in the pool, and I was looking at Mary's face, and I was just thinking, wow, she looks so much more interesting than she did in her early 20s. There's character there, there's personality. I was thinking, it'd be so cool to do a sequel and have her play sort of the Omega Man of the Slime City universe, the person who's running around hunting these characters. And I had done a music video to promote the rock CD based on the novelization of Johnny Gruesome, which was based on my script. And I cast Jennifer Beal in that part. And I remember thinking, wow, she looks a lot like Mary. If I ever did a Slime City sequel, she could play Mary's daughter or the next generation. So I told both Mary and Robert while we were hanging out in the pool, yeah, I think we're going to do this sequel. And they both thought I was crazy. But as soon as I got home, that's what I wrote. And we did it, that summer.
So it wasn't something you thought about like right after Slime City? Or...
No, I never had a desire to do a sequel. I remember the Alex Beck, who was at the time a very famous overseas distributor. He picked up Slime City and gave us the finishing money. And he wanted us to do a sequel right away. And I said, well, I don't really want to do one. I want to do this movie, Johnny Gruesome, but for what kind of budget? He said, well, about the same thing. And I said, no, I don't want to do a movie for that budget again. It was so hard on us, and we worked for free. And so no, it was never a burning desire. But once we decided to do it, over the years, there were all these reviews that would say, well, the plot doesn't make a lick of sense. So one of the things I was thinking was we could do these flashbacks, and I could make the backstory make sense for people who aren't quick enough to get it in the narration. And if you remember, this is Zachary Devin's book. You can still get it in some occult bookstores. When Robert's character turns it over, Zachary, who is sort of a Lon Chaney figure here, is played by Robert. So in fact, 20 years earlier, I set up the fact that Robert would play Zachary in flashbacks in a Godfather 2 type of scenario.
Yeah. Which it's
everything works out for a reason.
Yeah.
I did not look that skinny when we shot Slime City Massacre. I'll just say.
As you said, you're a method actor.
Exactly. And the sausages had yet to be removed.
We cut out the scene of you doing the stand-up routine in the mirror in your dressing room.
So what did Mary and Craig think, of the idea of doing a sequel?
I really think they thought I was just talking out of my ass, but The thing is, once I write something, then I really want to make it. And when I wrote the script, I was really happy with it. So.
Well, my memory of that is that you had a fairly detailed idea of what the movie would be there in the pool, but you also had an idea for Slime City 3, where I play like some Rudy Giuliani type, and Mary plays some Hillary Clinton type.
Mary's Hillary, and you are Cheney.
Cheney. Oh, even
better. They get it on the Oval Office desk, and they're locked in because people know they're going to get possessed by slime, and because they have no other way to kill and turn back human, they launch the bombs. So that's what causes the worldwide, and that's just a subplot of the movie.
Destruction. Yeah, I didn't think that was ever going to get made, but Slime City Massacre sounded like it was already halfway there by the time he was pitching it to us.
As I said, if I write something completely, then I want to make it. And I only wrote about 60 pages of Slime City Apocalypse. So I'm intentionally trying not to finish it, because if I do, here we go.
That's pretty funny.
I'm sure. Well, I'm sure you have more material now. A lot of things have happened since Dick Cheney. Yes.
Slime City Apocalypse is a sequel to Slime City Massacre. It's in the same timeline, but it opens and closes with space aliens visiting the Earth. And then you have another flashback thing, which is young Zachary and how he discovers the elixir and stuff. But there's all sorts of stuff of scientists experimenting on the slime heads in an underground laboratory. So they inject the soldiers with the serum, so all these soldiers get possessed. And at lunchtime, the Zacharys are all sitting together. The wives are all sitting together. All the characters are bunched up together. And there's all these crazy gore scenes, but I haven't found the heart of the story. In that one, the brains are the good guys.
That's a good twist.
Do you still have the brains?
No, the original brain Mary chopped up. We weren't thinking towards collectors. The slime also made it dissolve. So when we shot that, we had to stop, send Mary to bed, put the brain in the freezer, and I went to bed. And Tom Lawton, who handled the brain, he woke us up when it was ready to be chopped up.
Brain Wrangler.
Yes.
For Slime City Massacre, all but one of the brains were just green screen tape, wound up into a ball. And then RJ7 created the CG versions. There was one handheld puppet, the one that I grabbed Mary with, the one that kills Mary. But otherwise, those brains did not survive either.
I don't know if hopefully he's related to the movie, or else I don't know. I understand this question. But Carmine Capobianco wants to know where.
Capobianco.
Yes.
Capobianco.
Capobianco.
Carmine.
He wants to know where his head is. Yeah.
Carmine is one of the actors in Debbie's movie Model Hunger, and he directed a couple of crazy low-budget movies himself. And his head is buried in my backyard.
Galactic Gigolo?
No, that's a name. That's a title.
I hope. I mean, Psychos in Love, he says, is his best movie, but I think Galactic Gigolo is his best movie.
Did Carmine have a question?
Church.
He wondered where his head is. He says he loves you. But anyway, you guys send any questions, and we'll ask him here on the show.
Yeah, we buried Carmine's head in my backyard for Model Hunger, which Mary is also in Debbie's movie. Mm-hmm. And we used that head. We kept the head and used it in a few other films in Buffalo, and it was sort of a running joke. And then I think for Killer Rack, we auctioned it off as part of the Indiegogo campaign. So I forgot who has Carmine's head now. Somebody.
Yeah, it's out there.
Sorry, Carmine.
Sorry,
Debbie,
Carmine.
you were familiar with Slime City going into Slime City Massacre. You had already seen Slime City and were a fan.
Yes, I had very much. I mean, that's why I was so excited.
And she froze.
She's so excited now. She just froze up.
And Greg was a genius, and I was dying to work with him.
You know what happened? Tom put her in the fridge.
And that Greg Lamberson is so talented. And he's a genius, and I was dying to work with him.
Hopefully we get a
She'll be back.
here. Yeah. Is it true that you wrote the character for her? That's on IMDb. You can't always go by that.
That I don't remember. I know that what happened was I wrote a filmmaking book called Cheap Scares, Low Budget Horror Filmmakers Share Their Secrets. And 50% of it was like my experiences, and 50% of it was interviews with other filmmakers and distributors and people along the way. Robert discussed screenwriting at that point. And because of that, I watched a lot of movies that I normally wouldn't watch. The whole Scream Queen genre of the 90s was nothing I had any interest in. But I watched a movie called Skin Crawl, which my friend Justin Wingenfeld directed. And Debbie was the star of that. And I just happened to see the premiere at a convention in Pittsburgh. And I knew watching it right away, oh, she's not one of those Scream Queen people. She's an actress who's actually studied lessons. And I did something I never do, which is I went up and introduced myself afterwards and just said how great I thought she was in the film. So once we had money to make Slime City Massacre, she was the only person that I was thinking about for that part.
Brooke, how did you get involved? And did you know of Slime City?
So crazy. So at that point in time, it was beginning of 2008. I had been a working actress from off-Broadway shows in New York to sitcoms on Fox TV. And I was not, I'm honest, I was not familiar with Slime City at that point in time. However, I was a huge horror fan at the time. I just broke out in horror. I was a fan. I was a fan of like the old school. I was a fan of the Lloyd Kaufman, trauma films. I was a Debbie Rochon huge fan and a Tiffany Shepis fan. So the trauma world when I was younger. And at that point in time, I had just gotten into the more acting into the thriller stuff, the mystery thrillers. And I had Kinky Killers that I acted in with Charles Durning and Michael Pare on Showtime. And then that got released beginning of 2008. And then I was also shooting at the time I Murders with Billy D. Williams and Tony Todd and William Forsythe and Gabrielle Anwar and Frank Grillo. That being said, I was like becoming immersed in this sort of horror thriller mystery world. Unbeknownst to me, Slime City existed, and our friend, shout out Greg, we were just chatting about horror yearbook Will. Believe it or not, I can't believe I remember all this. He reached out to both Greg and I at the same time, and he said to me, are you familiar with Slime City and Greg Lamberson? I said, I've heard of it, and I definitely heard of Greg Lamberson and his authoring, but send me a link, show me. So I think I actually went and bought the DVD right away. And the DVD, I'm like, the DVD right away. And I'm like, this is amazing. Who is this genius? And I praise Greg all the time and I mean it from the heart. I'm like, this is so freaking smart. Because I'm such a huge horror fan since childhood, but I love the films that have the brilliant subtext, not just the gratuity for no reason at all, So I'm like, oh, this guy's really smart. I want to work with him. And at the same time, Will was like spinning the wheels and like reaching out to Greg going, you should really look at Brooke Lewis. At the time I was Brooke Lewis. You should look at Brooke Lewis. She's becoming like a new little scream queen because I had these films on Showtime and blah, blah. So that being said, I also was, I'll make it quick, producing a lot. And that was something I think that was very attractive to all filmmakers at the time. And Greg said, set up a meeting, Will. So we bonded right away, I think just on intellectual, cinema alone. And he came to me and said, can you raise a little bit of money and come on as a co-producer in some way? And we also, I had a very close connection. I had just done a film with Lee Perkins. In fact, I saw Irwin Keyes on your intro. So Dahmer versus Gacy. And so that was our big conversation. Like, can we raise some money? Can we get Lee Perkins on board? And here we are. And actually, I remember Greg saying to me, like, read the script. If you're going to come on as a co-producer, like, you have a couple options. What would you be inspired to play? And I went right for Nicole, even though she was a supporting role. It just spoke to me, and I love the original so much. And when Greg, I'll let Greg take the floor, but when he had shared sort of the connection to the original Slime City, I was so excited and inspired, and it was like my role to play.
Lee Perkins is also here in spirit tonight, like here. It would have been crazy if we had too many voices, but I did want the guys to make a cameo. I'm big on the cameos.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, go on, sir.
I actually wouldn't have remembered that Will was the link there. I actually thought it was Lee, so that's interesting to remember. Robert, Mary, I don't know if you remember Will, but he did run a horror website, and he stayed with me during Slime City. So Robert, we all spent a couple of nights together. He stayed in my house, and he limped a little bit. And his job really, he had the same role on Debbie's film Model Hunger, which is he basically hangs out and smokes cigarettes away from cast and crew, and everybody basically drifts to him and reveals their most innermost secrets to him, so he gets all the dirt and then comes home and shares it with me. He's got some health issues, so he hasn't been on any of my films in a while, but I miss him. He used to come out sometimes and just hang out for a week for the film festival.
Yeah.
Wow.
Carmine did ask, I have a question for you, Greg. He wants to know, where's your hair?
On his head.
You showed the bottles with the slime there. What did people actually drink and eat when they're eating the slime or drinking the slime in the movie?
Well, the slime was just water with food coloring, and the slime was yogurt with food coloring. And it sounds so simple. And yet on Slime City Massacre, my good friend John Renna, who plays the mayor of Slime City, he was the production manager, and the yogurt apparently went bad. And Keelan and Jennifer did have to scoop up some yogurt that we didn't find out until too late was spoiled. Method acting.
John Renna's a cool guy. I know him from Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival, and he's great as the mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to say, Buffalo Dreams happens next week, and we're actually having live screenings. We're not doing the virtual, and it will be very strange that you and Jason will not be there.
It's
since
strange
you guys
not
have come
being
out
there.
for the whole festival 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's lacking without you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's weird not being there. What's cool about festivals like Buffalo is you get to know everybody, and it's a community, and you get to see everybody, every year. And it's cool to see people, they made a short one year, maybe they had a feature the next year. And then you also, you get new people who've never been there before. But for me, the big part is the community and seeing the same people again.
Well, now you're an honorary part of that community.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
When we did the flashbacks for Slime City Massacre, so it was Robert, Brooke, Sephra Geron, who's an author, and she played the gypsy from Slime City in Killer Rack. That's the same character. And Michael O'Hear, who I don't want to talk about. Oh, Debbie's back, so this is perfect timing. And Michael O'Hear played Roman, and Michael was the assistant director on the film. So this would be a good chance for us to talk about Michael, who passed away in June after being in the hospital for 3 months. And he was a huge part of the Buffalo film community. Do you remember him at all, Neal, from your trips to the festival?
I briefly met him, but I don't have any stories. I didn't have much interaction with him.
He did different things on the festival from year to year, depending on what his health situation was. Sometimes he was a judge, sometimes he was a photographer, but he was in on it from 10 years. And Slime City Massacre was the first film he worked on with me. And then he hired me to write Dry Bones, which Debbie ended up starring with opposite him. He was supposed to direct it, but he was already so sick back then, 6 years ago, I think, Debbie, that he couldn't handle directing as well as acting. And I did not want to direct that film, and it was kind of thrust onto me because we had to finish the movie. But then he's been in every other film feature that I've done in Buffalo. And Debbie, when we were putting Model Hunger together, she said right off the bat, I want Michael in there. I want John in there. I want Mary to come out, which I loved the fact that you even thought of her. It never occurred to me that you would have thought about Mary, since she's in New York City and we were in Buffalo.
Right. I don't know why, but I consider them in my mind close. Otherwise, Robert, Brooke, there would have been a lot, bigger draw of people, but I don't know. I guess it's the same state, Mary. I
understood why you were concentrating on local actors. I was just surprised. It was a pleasant surprise to me when you said, "Oh, and I want Mary to play this part."
Oh, but how great is Mary? as Debbie's mother, though. I mean, amazing, 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 really. And like, whoever would see her doing something like that, yelling, being
I have to
mean, that's not
Kid.
Mary, right?
I don't know. My family might beg to differ, but you know, watching that the other night, it's like, what the heck is going on in Jay's head with women? Because the women in there are so crazy.
Model hunger we're talking about. That's
Model
what I'm
hunger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
some dark stuff there.
very, very dark, very, very dark. Yeah, no, but going back to Michael just for a second in Model Hunger, it's amazing to me that he was so committed to matter what he was doing, no matter what part he was doing. I would ask him stuff that's not in the script, say he's in the playground drinking from a flask, he's a police officer really, but let's put him in there watching the little kids. That's not, you know what I mean? A lot of actors would say, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. You're not going to get me to do that, even though it's just implied, right? It's not, nothing's done or said, but it was so important that everybody had such a dark side to me, you know, because I thought it was more interesting, really, right? But he didn't even question it. He was like, yeah, okay.
Well, it did mean an extra scene for him, Debbie.
Yeah.
He did get more screen time sitting in that playground.
Okay. Oh, all right. But thank God, because it was great, and that's exactly who you want to work with, isn't that right, Greg? I mean, you
Yes.
just want to
The
work with
actors
people
who will
just
do
like,
anything.
Yes. Yes. Like, say it. Yes, let's do it.
Now that we're all back, I just want to quickly say how much I've been looking forward to tonight, how much I treasure each one of you, how long we've been friends, what good friends we've been, and it's really nice to see you in the middle of this situation.
Don't make me cry, because you know you will. I'm such a sap. Can I just interject and say that this is for me, Slime City Massacre, and it was truly like my first real venture into the like micro budget, you know, horror action sci-fi world back then. And I didn't know what I was stepping into. And, you know, I say this a lot, and you know how honest I am. Like, people went, oh, title, Slime City Massacre, you know, what are you doing, Brooke? And I'm like, you're right, Debbie's laughing. We both know this now. And like, I was like, no, you don't understand. This script is amazing. The subtext of it is amazing. It touches on so many things. And like that ZZ review that we had this week was extraordinary. But that being said, this was my first experience and one of the greatest experiences of my career. I'm going to cry. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to come play, and to this really, I was starting to get the bestowed, and again to icon like Debbie Rochon and to Mary and all those who came before me in this horror world, you know, the title Scream Queen. But Slime City Massacre solidified it for me with the real true blue horror cult classic fans. So it's something I talk about to this day, no matter what I do in Hollywood or whatever TV shows I'm on. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had. And I just can't thank you enough, Greg, and the whole cast and crew.
What was interesting about the shoot for Slime City Massacre is it was very segmented so that we could work with actors' schedules. We can only bring people out, so you use the people for that amount of time and they move on. So we started with the flashbacks with Brooke, Robert, Michael, and Sephra, and we shot all those in 2 days. And we shot those in a building in Niagara Falls, which the owner had bought for a song, and there were 4 levels of junk everywhere. Like, we had to find a room just with space to shoot that stuff. And you remember the condition of that scene where we shot the orgy? Oh, and of course, Sandra was in that as well. Sandra was in there as your daughter, Robert's daughter, who was so funny because she was a last minute casting choice, and she had a Hispanic accent. She's from Venezuela or Colombia or not Mexico, but another country from down there. So we cast her at the last minute, and then you had a daughter with a Spanish accent. So in the other prequel, in addition to discovering the slime, Zachary and Ruby have to kidnap a toddler from some Spanish missionaries in the Himalayan mountains.
A toddler who's deaf, because apparently she can't get rid of her original accent. No, what would be hilarious is if we actually had the baby, but we taught it to talk like this. No, I want to, like in an accent.
An SCTV skit. Robert's a big SCTV fan. So we shot all of them in 2 days in those locations, and then they were out of there. And then we brought in the core group, which would be Debbie Lee, Jennifer, and who am I missing? Jennifer Keelan, the 4 of them. And we shot the bulk of their stuff. And then some of them were leaving when Mary came in. So you miss Robert. You're both in the same film.
Was gone when I got there.
Yeah. And then you left and Lloyd came in. Lloyd Kaufman came in. And
I was all alone in that house.
The last 3 or 4 days of the shoot were just weird because we had all these different actors suddenly, and they all had their own, over-the-top personalities. Not you, Mary. It was such a fun day. What you did overlap with Debbie though on the day when you killed them, didn't you? You didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't you deliver dialogue opposite them for when you killed them at the end?
Yes.
No.
Twice.
Really? Okay.
I think, you had one day and then Debbie was out of there. But that was so much fun shooting you stomp on those brains. Remember the balloons?
Yes. I definitely remember that. But I just remember having to stay alone in the house, and I didn't like
you were alone in Actor House. But it's better than sleeping on my couch like Robert had to, and then have me pick you up an hour late and find out about it in a blog that Robert wrote.
Is that what happened?
I don't even remember.
Goddamn internet.
Robert, tell us about the blog. Come on.
Kept the journal.
You need to know the dirt. Yeah.
No, if you want all the dirt, you got to read the journal.
All right, I heard. Well, Greg asked Craig, Robert, Craig will call him, if you remember the condition of the building during the orgy scene. So what was the place like?
It was a very dank warehouse kind of it was like those places where you see like serial killers hang out, and they're nestled in one corner, and everything else is just empty with all these pillars.
Like my house.
Filthy, absolutely filthy. Poor Brooke. It was just rancid.
And periodically throughout the day, sewage would get pumped into one of the other chambers. There were all these rooms down there. And sometimes we had to walk through that. Where the guys found the bottles was in that basement. And I remember walking through 2 inches of water the day we shot it.
Yeah.
But they're laying on the floor, like especially the CGI scene where Robert is on top of me, lying on the floor, and then Greg with the tongue.
Yeah.
Oh my, yes. Yes.
Yeah, it was absolutely filthy, but the incredible thing is, Buffalo was so supportive. They made sure they had cop cars all over the place. They were treating us like we were some sort of high level shoot, and of course we were in this building that nobody would ever go into.
Niagara Falls, not Buffalo.
Ever. Yeah.
How about like where a lot of the movie shot? Is it like a big abandoned building? Like where is that? Where did you find it?
That is the structures around the Central Terminal, which was this big grandiose train station that we used to have in Buffalo. And a lot of the natural was shot there, and they just allowed it to fall apart. And I couldn't get into the tower itself. I was supposed to direct a film for a producer in Buffalo in that building. When I was walking around, I was like, yeah, that Slime City sequel, I could shoot that whole thing in this building. And I ended up not working with that producer, which sort of led into doing, coming up with this idea that I pitched to Robert and Mary. So I knew that I wanted to set it in that building and make it a post-apocalyptic sequel. I have some guest stars. Come here.
And it's haunted, you guys. It is freaking right, Deb?
It absolutely is.
Haunted.
Who's haunted?
Tamar, how you doing?
Hey.
Caitlin.
Good
Oh
to see
my
you
God.
guys.
Caitlin, I haven't seen you
Family.
since you were like, how old was she during Slime City Massacre? She was like 3.
She was 3 when she made her debut. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years old. Look how you've grown.
I can't see. There she is. There they both are.
So yeah, she had her first cameo. Tamar had a cameo, and Tamar was also the production supervisor.
I saw
Shooting
Tamar.
Slime City Massacre, I kept cash in one pocket and receipts went in the other, and I would come home and dump them out, and we would put them in a box. But then at the end of the shoot, we had to make sense of everything, and Tamar learned bookkeeping as a result of that.
Tamar, the hero. The
You're a great
savior.
widow's
They're
point.
both wearing their custom Slime City Massacre shirts.
Awesome.
Oh,
There's Debbie.
Hi. Everything's froze for me, but I'm assuming.
Aw.
Yeah,
You
There
missed
we
it.
go.
They're wearing you on their
hear
shirt.
you.
Debbie.
Goodbye.
Slime
Yeah.
City.
Bye. I will not see
Caitlin.
either of you this
Oh.
year, unfortunately.
Aw.
Bye,
Wish
Tamar.
I could have
Bye.
seen it. Wish I could have seen it.
You can
I-
watch the
You'll watch
replay
it
on
on
YouTube.
YouTube later.
Yeah, all right.
I'll watch it later. Yes, I'll
Right.
watch it later.
Yeah. Make sure to give it a thumbs up too.
So that is a ruined train station where we shot most of those locations. And the worst memory of the film is when Jennifer Beal got hurt inside one of those rooms. And what happened was we were shooting the scene where she and Keelan jointly kill a couple of homeless guys. We're trying to do double the action of the murder of the homeless guy in Slime City, except these guys were actually preppy douchebags. And she was wearing the bandage and the makeup and the sunglasses, and she had to go to the bathroom, and she was happy, and she went skipping away into the building while we were out on the tracks. And there were, I don't know what to call them, but they were like rectangular openings in the floor, and through them you would see these ducts and things. So they were access panels to the innards of the station. And we heard the bang, and I looked, and she was nowhere to be seen with the sunglasses on. She just didn't see it there. And we didn't know enough to have traffic cones and safety cones and stuff out. I mean, that's what we would do these days. And I ran over there, and what happened is that as she fell down, she reached out and grabbed onto a rusty piece of metal that almost sliced her fingers off. And when I looked down into the hole, she was sort of clinging to the side like Spider-Man. And I hopped down and pulled her out, and we lifted her hand up, and blood was gushing out. She was like, I'm okay, I can still shoot. And, of course, the ambulance came and the fire truck, and, she had to have surgery. They stitched up her finger, and literally the worst thing that's ever happened on one of my sets. And Debbie had a similar experience with a machete. It's sort of famous, where her fingers were cut. So she told me exactly what was going to happen, how they were going to fix it. Jennifer showed up for shooting, I think the very next day, with a bandage on her hand. So if you watch the film, in some scenes, suddenly she has a bandage on one finger. In some scenes, her hand's totally bandaged. And we wrote a line of dialogue, I think, to try and cover it, but it still doesn't quite match how the thing comes and goes. But some of us got Slime City Massacre tattoos.
Oh, really?
I have
Yes.
one. Debbie has one. Jennifer didn't get one, but it turned out that the scar on her finger is an S,
Oh,
where they had the surgery.
Is it?
Wow.
So that was awful.
Mhm.
And I remember after it happened, we tried to go back and finish shooting the scene. I was just like, no, we'll come back to this. Let's get out of here. And Jennifer is married now. She has a cameo in Killer Rack, but she's married and has 3 beautiful daughters, and she's a total mom, and now she's a nurse. And she's her photos that she shares on Facebook are of these 3 girls and her constantly doing outdoor things, riding the horse and stuff. And she did a great job. I was really happy with her.
You mentioned Killer Rack. Something I've always noticed about Debbie is she's really good, like kind of the over-the-top comedic performances, like in Killer Rack.
Kind of.
Go. Well, yeah, and then
Kind of.
excellent. In Slime City
I'm the
Massacre, when you're
Nicolas
playing, a
Cage
dramatic.
Of my genre.
Well, I actually
And
asked
I
Debbie.
embrace it.
I don't know
You
if it was
did,
on
exactly.
Slime City.
You gave it-
I think
you
it was
gave
on
it your all
Slime
either
City
way.
Massacre. that I asked you what you hadn't played that you wanted to play, and you said a mad scientist. So when I read Paul's script and Dr. Thulu was there, I was like, oh, it's a natural. It's got to be Debbie. I've gotten to direct Debbie a few times, and directing really means, you know, creating the frame and letting the actor do what they can do best. And she brings a real physical element to her performances. And Craig Sheffer does the same thing. You know, I saw it on Widow's Point. There's what's on the page, there's what you have in your eye, and then there's this whole other physical thing that actors bring to parts. And Killer Rack was certainly the case. Now, Brooke didn't have that opportunity on Killer Rack because she's the voice of the boobs. It's not seen.
Right.
But Debbie was brilliant. Brilliant. You know, I'm a forever fan. So really, I mean.
How do you go about creating a voice for boobs?
Yeah.
Very sultry, right, Deb? Very sultry. Very well.
Very.
Right? I mean, and I'm in
sultry
LA.
but firm.
Yes. Well, she was the like, you know, sort of empress of the mammary gland. I'm sure Greg could explain better, but Greg directed me
I don't know if
before I went into the voiceover studio here in LA, and he directed me. We did a lot of work together before, from Buffalo to here.
Well, Brooke, you have actually two stories that are thematically linked, which would be the story of the hotel, the Slime City Massacre, because remember, you weren't going to stay at Actor House. No. You had to get your sleep, so it was important to have a hotel. And then that's something similar for the studio for Killer Rack.
Oh my gosh. I'll try to be quick, but you know, my stories are long, but this is hysterical. So, and this is something that Greg and I share and we laugh about all the time. So that was the whole thing. Like I'm such a diva, but a lovable diva, but like I need my sleep. I need my glam, you know, like I just can't do what I need to do otherwise. So, but sleep's super important. And when you're coming from Hollywood to Buffalo, it's like a 3-flight, you know, layover and connecting and blah, blah, blah. So we orchestrated it like a month in advance. I was staying, Greg, was it the Doubletree? The Doubletree?
Yes.
Okay, so the Doubletree, and they were wonderful. Okay, so we orchestrated this months in advance of coming out. I'm staying for like 4 days at the Doubletree, and I'm flying out on these like 75 flights. So I'm not going to bed the night before, so I could leave at like 1 o'clock in the morning from my home here, blah, blah, blah. So I'm getting in at dinner time the next day, and we did it on purpose. So Greg, Will, and I actually went to a lovely dinner in Buffalo, went back to the hotel. I was like, Greg, I need my sleep. I'm not going to do a good job. So I was like racing back to the hotel, having Greg drive me back. So I go. It's like midnight. I get in. I'm finally refreshed. I go to sleep. I'm like, okay, this is good. I'm going to sleep from like midnight to 5 a.m. when I have to be up to be picked up for the shoot tomorrow. And at least I'll get a good 5 hours because I didn't go to bed the night before. And I was like a psycho about it. So I get into bed. Literally 5 minutes after laying my head on the pillow, I hear alarms going off. I'm like, what the hell? Come to find out, they usher us out with the fire alarm. There's a huge explosion in the kitchen in the hotel for room service. I'm sitting in my like nightshirt and no makeup and like I'm a mess on the like sidewalk. They keep us out there until 5 a.m. I'm calling Greg, panicking. I'm like, Greg, what do I do? I didn't want to like wake him up. And so I had zero sleep. I run up, shower. This is now 2 nights of no sleep. Greg picks me up at the hotel, takes me to set, and here we are. We laugh about it to this day. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm the only one who goes to try to get sleep at a hotel, and there's an explosion there. I really think, as I'm talking about it, and thinking of Jennifer, and thinking of Debbie, and a bunch of mishaps, like, maybe we were cursed. Maybe the ghosts in the Buffalo terminal, like, cursed us, Greg. What do you think? I don't know.
I think Greg pranked you. Like blew up the kitchen of the Doubletree just to show you you could have stayed at the Actor House.
Abby, do you remember your arrival in Buffalo for Slime City Massacre?
Yes, because when you arrive, you have to arrive properly, right, Brooke? I mean, it can't just be you go in, okay, I'm staying in the Actor House and just lay down and go to sleep. Oh, no. So I come in, I said to Greg, I said, okay, I don't fly well. So, you know, I take pills to fly. So I have to lay down right away. Like as soon as I get there, get a good night's sleep, like you, Brooke, good night's sleep tomorrow I'll be fresh. Only in my case, that's exactly what happened. I went there, but the other actor persons went out. They locked the door. I went to sleep, and it was for the night, believe me. And they didn't have keys, and I don't know why to this day. Do you know why, Greg? And so they literally, break in the door. I was out. I was like sleeping. There was nothing getting me up. Nothing at all. Sleeping like I was right before we did this thing. So I'm a little bit tired. But so finally, I think it was John Renna. He busted the window so that he could put his hand through and open the door and let the people in. So on the first, I guess my first night, people were already staying there, I think. We broke the door to get in. So I don't know if he got his damage deposit back or what, but so that was my first night.
I may be mistaken, but I believe that John Renner threw himself on the sword, and that Lee is actually the one who broke the glass to unlock the door, because Lee also had some anxiety medication that he had to get in, and they kept calling you, and John kept calling you. And I remember John saying, "Greg, you want me to break the window?" But I think Lee had already broken the window at that point.
Now, Actor House. What?
Actor House, you're always looking for an inexpensive place to put actors up. And at one point, I think, I was trying to get a higher budget. I had a friend who said, "Oh, I can raise $150,000, no problem." Well, he couldn't. It's always a problem. We ended up making it for 50, and we only had 35,000 when we went into it. So we're looking at all sorts of ways. And I remember I didn't even know Debbie. I'd only met her once. She was excited about doing the project, and I said, "It's not going to be what I thought it was. I'd still love to have you involved." She was totally up for it, whatever the guerrilla circumstances were. What I ended up doing was there's a row of college houses that were empty for the summer, and they were unfurnished. So we got one of these places for a month, which worked out well, and got a bunch of inflatable mattresses. And I mean, Mary, by the time you showed up and everyone was gone, it must have had a lived-in feeling, right?
Yeah, that's one way to say it. Yeah.
Lived-in smell, maybe.
It was fine. It was just I was alone. I didn't want to be alone. There were critters.
New York City.
No, there was. She's
lived in New York City all your life.
I gotta bust in, Mary.
I know the critters in New York City.
Okay.
There was a lot of rats. There really was. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. There was tons of rats on that front lawn under the porch. But the one thing I did
not on the set, just in the living quarters.
Exactly.
Just in our living quarters. Let's make this clear, okay? Just in the living quarters, there was rats. On the set, we were good. But Mary didn't get to experience that. I don't think any of you guys got to experience the fact that, I don't know if it was John Renna, but whoever set things up for us, the four of us, like the colored slime people of the actors.
Right.
We got, and I still have mine, a flashlight, a coffee mug, like a water cup, all in the color of your character. I have all my orange. Even when I came home after that shoot, I was so excited. I bought an orange lamp to go with it all. So that was really cool.
Back to that location, there was no electricity, and we had to get porta potties, and you had to walk forever some days to get to those porta potties. It was a big building. And for lunch every day, we would go across the field to this rundown bar with all these old drunks, and they were so happy to have us, and they made such good food for us every day.
Was there any reason that Debbie's character was orange? Because it does stand out, orange slime.
Once I decided I was going to have 4 characters get possessed, I wanted each one to have a unique color, because in Slime City, when you see the cutaways of the jars of Himalayan yogurt, each character has their own color. One's blue, one's pink, one's yellow, one's orange. And I wanted to keep those colors, so they do reflect back to the colors used in the original. Continuity there.
Yeah. What's that scene like when it's just your face, you know, in the tub, and you're all slime around you?
Please tell that story.
Oh, wow. Go set it up, Greg. Like, describe what you had to do to the tub.
All right.
Oh,
So
look, he's got
first of
that.
all, it had to be
Let's
one of
go.
those big tubs with the claw feet so that we could hide her whole body in there, whatever we covered her with. At one point, we talked about something called dragon skin. What we ended up doing was a hard foam piece with a circle cut out for the face that would be covered with slime.
Mhm.
We would actually seal her in there. They'd do the makeup to blend her into it, and then actually pour slime on top of that so that Lee could trace his fingers
Mhm.
to it. And
Right.
what they did a good job. I mean, I give the effects guys worked so hard on that film for no money, and had so many things they had to come up with. But they didn't quite plan on putting something at an angle for her to lay back on in the tub, so it was really uncomfortable. And I remember them walking
Yeah.
her out with her face sticking through this huge foam piece to put her in the tub, and she looked like a person wearing a giant dandelion costume, you know, one of those kids plays.
Yes, yes.
So she got in, they sealed her up, and then some metal was digging into your back, I remember.
Yes.
And the makeup got messed up getting her in position. So we suddenly had this thing where we had to doctor the makeup. We had to get her scenes, which were really important scenes. Those scenes of her in the tub are my favorite in the film. And the problem was that like every 20 minutes or so, the longest train on the planet would pull into this station, and we'd be shut for like half an hour of it pulling in, rolling, slowing, stopping, making psh, psh noises before it pulled out again. So I just remember us furiously running to get as many takes as we could. And Debbie was a champ about it, but I do remember her saying at one point, just do it. Let's just do it.
Just get the
It was
fucking
not that
shots.
different from a moment Robert had on the original Slime City. All the trouble with the makeup, all that, he was great with it. But the day he had to walk around with those cold, wet guts in that stomach appliance was the day that finally got to him.
Yeah. I believe it.
It was
I believe
summer in
it.
New York, and I was freezing.
Well, we were freezing in summer in Buffalo. I told everybody, you know, it's gonna be really hot.
That's
There's no air
right.
conditioning. And inside that building, it was super cold. I remember Jennifer and Keelan in their slime sex scenes, just teeth chattering.
Yeah.
What about
That is
your
so
decapitation
weird.
scene? You know, how did you do that? Did you actually cut a hole in your floor? Or?
Yeah, what the effects guys designed, and the reason that you have that black and white checkered pattern, we had an actual kitchen in that apartment, but we wanted the apartment to look smaller. And that's why we put bookcases to hide our living room. So the dining room is really the living room in the film. And then the actual living room is Roman's apartment. So those were part of the same apartment. But we created that floor, and we got the appliances and stuff, and we made a kitchenette like you would have a studio apartment. And then we had these kids from the building in the Bronx built an elevated floor, like 2.5 feet off the floor. And Robert had to go under there and stick his head through, and then he had to get sealed in. And we had a door cut off in half that we put up so it matched. And the crawling brain, once Robert is out of there, Tom Lawton is underneath the floor. There's 2 rods under the brain, and he's just doing this. That's how it crawls across the floor. And if you look, when Mary runs across the floor to kill the brain, that's the elevated floor, and it's covered with slime, and it's slippery.
Yeah.
You didn't land on your ass, but you definitely did a foot skate across that linoleum.
Die, God damn it.
My friend, and also a lot of you know, Babette Bombshell once says Debbie has so much experience on sets and so much fun, so much love of film that she was born to direct. And he's bringing up your directorial debut on Model Hunger.
Oh, that's Babs? Oh, yes. Babs is awesome. If anybody's seen the movie here, they will know how amazing Babs is. Another actor. Okay, here's another actor that, again, Greg, tell me, if you say something to an actor and they not only agree to do it, but they run with it and they embrace it and they're like, they go crazy. I mean, this is like, these are actors for, you know, your biggest dreams that you would get to work with, because I've worked with all kinds of actors.
Well, that's why I'm still friends with everybody here. They did that.
Really? Do you, anybody agree? I mean, and it's not because they're actors, it's because there's so much hubbub and bullshit around just getting something done, and nobody's really so amazing at their craft if they're that type of person, right? That they could even deserve to behave that way in the first place. And it's usually the ones that are like all demanding and all problematic and causing all the stress and drama that are actually the least good actors in a production.
But
Quite often.
Quite often. One of the great things about being on a low budget shoot is you're seeing how hard everyone else is working.
Yes.
Because everyone is busting their ass, you know, building the floors, creating the special effects. They're all doing it for no money. And you can't be a prima donna in that situation. You can't be like, oh, I'm sorry, there's a jagged shard of metal in my back, I'm not going on. You can't do that. You have to power through. You have to be one of the team. And that's one of the best things about working, certainly on Greg's shoots, is that there's such a camaraderie. There's such a, you know, a sense of team and a sense of we're all going to do it. We're gonna make this movie.
Robert, I think you're absolutely right. I never ever wanted to be the reason why anything was delayed. I never want, you know, there was always so much work to be done and people were working so hard. I never wanted it to be me, the reason why something didn't happen. So
yeah.
Trista, do you have a question? Sorry to take all the questions.
Oh, no, not at all. I do have a comment for Debbie. Debbie, I'm a fan of your work, and we're actually scheduled to be shooting a film together. And I don't know if you know that, but it's called Killer Babes and the Frightening Film Fiasco.
Yes, I do know this. Yes.
And I wanted to show you that I'm not one of those terrible actors that you're talking about.
Pressure's on.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I think so.
Okay.
I was on set in a movie with her. She's very good.
I have a story to tell about Debbie directing on Model Hunger. And getting back to Michael here, Michael was in like 5 of my movies, and we worked on a ton of other things together, and he made sure that I knew that Debbie was his favorite director. He told me that many times. But I remember we were shooting a scene with a couple of actresses on Model Hunger, and they were inexperienced actresses. We went through a lot of casting on that film to get the right ones. And I just remember one of them kind of casually making a suggestion to the other actress. And I have never seen anything like that. I've experienced it. Like the other day, I showed a script to a kid that I want to help me out on one I want to do sometime. And I wanted him to check out some locations and stuff. And he said, you know, I have a dialogue suggestion. I just said no in capital letters, no. But I remember Debbie turning to one of the actresses and saying, don't you ever tell another actor how to perform.
Yes.
and you know, she didn't burst into tears. She took it to heart, and but that is something that I had never thought about. And just that moment really did make me think, yeah, right. Actors do not need other people coming at them with suggestions on how to create their characters.
Right. Well, you know, you collaborate with the director or possibly the writer or the writer-director if it's the same person, but never another actor. And I swear to God, it's always the ones that, to me, I'm thinking, if anybody's ever said anything to me, it's not that people can't, you know, collaborate, but it's always somebody who I'm thinking, Oh my God, you should so be worried about yourself. Like you have no idea. Like, every time though, it's so weird. It's so weird. Have you guys experienced that or?
Yes. Yes.
Many times.
Yeah, right? I mean, every time.
Well,
Every
I'm a
time.
screenwriter, and as Greg just pointed out, nobody ever reads a script without giving you notes.
Yeah.
I guess it's the same idea, right? Yeah.
It's disrespectful, and Debbie knows because she's a total veteran as an actor, so she knows better. We know as you grow, you know, and you learn that like what is etiquette and what is professional. And I agree with you, Debbie. It's usually like the less professional actors who think that they can say and do whatever they want. And I have to say real quickly, Debbie, you must see Trista's a very old film, and I'm a fan of hers, from The Human Race. So good. So good.
Thank you. That's so nice. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I definitely will. Speaking of writing, that's what I've been doing. But yes, I very much want to.
Craig
Robert,
Lindbergh, who worked on Slime City Massacre, he wants to know what was everyone's favorite death in Slime City Massacre.
This is one of Craig's works. This is a model of the stomach mouth that Debbie wore on Slime City Massacre.
Okay.
I am holding it up the right way.
It's a mouth, Neal. It's a mouth.
right
here.
Right. Yeah.
Craig worked
The mouth.
on my second film.
Yeah, I was
my third
texting with
film.
Trista earlier, and that's what I called it. Yeah.
Craig did a lot of the gags for Slime City Massacre in New York City and sent them to Buffalo, and then the team here applied them. And he did the makeup on Johnny Gruesome. So he's I've been friends with him almost as long as I've been friends with Robert and Mary, because he goes back to Undying Love. What was his question? What does he want to know?
Oh, he wants to know your favorite death in Slime City Massacre.
Well, I would have
like
to
that
say
in both movies. There's a lot of head bashing.
Yeah. Well, there's two.
Right
I love the one where John Renna steps on Jennifer Beal and her stomach opens up and eats his foot, because we did that in Slime City, the original Slime City, when the mugger stabs him, but we got to do a more elaborate puppet for Slime City Massacre. So I really like that. But my favorite gag in that film is when Eric Mache, who did the painting for Slime City, and he's my daughter's godfather, and he lives near Mary, when he gets the bottles in his eyes.
That is a pretty awesome scene.
Screaming. When you watch these films with an audience, you know what they're going to react to, and they react to that, and you're like, oh, good, they liked it. But then you know that he's going to tip his head and the blood's going to come out of the bottles, and that's really the part that I like.
Yeah.
Debbie, do you have any stories about Craig applying the mouth onto your stomach?
He wasn't there. He created the things in New York.
He was there, I see.
So we had four guys: Rod Durick, who put Debbie up for Model Hunger. Andrew Lavin, who did a lot of the sculptures. Eric Zemecki. Eric and Rod are two of my favorite people in the world. And my friend RJ7, who's in New Orleans, who came out and lived with us and became part of the insane effects crew that we had. I mean, it was like the tent and MASH, the swamp, where these guys were and worked all day long. He did a lot of the sculpting. So those were the four main guys. And then Craig sculpted some stuff out in Long Island and sent them to us.
Right. It wasn't Rod, the one that painted me?
I don't remember. I mean, those guys were working 20 hours a day. It was insane that they would work on set all day and then go home to their lab and sculpt and cast and do stuff all day. And they were doing, energy drinks. And one day, Eric, I wasn't there when it happened. He collapsed on set, had a seizure, and blood was coming out of his nose. And he got up like it was nothing and went back to work.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was scary. That was really scary because he was so thin and he was just drinking the energy drinks. It was amazing. I mean, thank God he was all right. But Rod, in the back of a van, he had to paint me naked with the orange. And it was in the back of a van. And it was, believe it or not, like he was saying, it was cold in the middle of summer. It's the Slime City way, I guess. And they were applying this thing, and I was just laying back in this very uncomfortable position. But that was the least of my worries, because here are these guys painting me orange in the back of a van in Buffalo on the streets. And it was pretty amazing.
Right.
I think
If anyone tuning in, that was for the movie. It wasn't just like a Saturday for Debbie.
Debbie,
Well,
we did have Rod's sister on helping him that day as well, though. I made sure that we had a woman as part of that crew.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't remember. Maybe. Yeah. No, he was good. You know what I loved about it? He was so concerned with getting it done with a certain amount of time. He couldn't care less if I, was naked, fully clothed. He was just like going crazy. He was going crazy. He was getting it done. Last thing that it was anything weird. It was great.
For a lot of
it wasn't anything weird. He was just painting me in the back of the head. Wasn't
most of the crew, that was their first feature.
Nothing weird about it.
For most of the crew on Slime City Massacre, that was their first feature. Like they'd worked on a couple of backyard productions, but I mean, really everyone pulled together on that film. It was a great team.
Yes.
John Wood wants to know, would Debbie and everyone here, would they return for part 3 as different characters?
Absolutely.
As different characters? Well,
Yeah.
absolutely would return, but are we doing the political one?
That would be one aspect of it. Yeah, you would be a mad scientist and Brooke would be a military figure. I mean, it's figured out enough that I know that much.
Yeah.
Look, and there are parts for Keelan and Lee, and it would not be worth doing if we didn't get everyone back again. And by the time I'm willing to do it, we'll all be old enough that everyone can believably play other characters.
Right.
Neal, follow up
I
with
don't
the
know
guy.
about
Make sure he has money.
Mary. Mary's the only one that this doesn't apply to.
What? I'm coming back.
Aging.
Right?
No, you're the
I
damn same.
She looked
1987.
But I'm going to stay in a hotel.
I'm not.
Mary,
I think she lives in like one of those like Michael Jackson oxygen tanks or something, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's
Debbie,
very dark.
No.
with Michael Jackson.
It's very dark.
That's funny.
In the back of a van in Buffalo.
I've been begging Greg. I'm like a psycho stalker on Twitter. Like they're my friends, and like I'll get on Twitter, Greg, like once every 3 months, and beg you publicly with me, you, and Debbie on the feed. When are we doing a sequel? Don't I though?
Well, look, here's the truth. We made a movie called Slime City for $50,000, and it never made a profit. And even though because of bad distribution, I mean,
Right.
dishonest distribution. And despite that, we came together and we made a sequel 22 years later for $50,000. And that one didn't make a profit. So it's very hard to go to investors and say, hey, the world is clamoring
This
for part
time
3, and this one is going to make money. So it's hard enough looking for money, but looking for money for an item that has already got 2 strikes against it is next to impossible. If there is a wealthy Slime City fan out there who is dying to see Slime City Apocalypse and is willing to write a check for $200,000 without me spending 6 months of my life begging for that money, I'm all up for it.
Well, now why isn't the double feature making money?
Because the DVD Blu-ray business stinks. I mean, we've gotten checks, but not anything near enough to break us even.
Right. Why aren't we out in the drive-ins with a double feature during the pandemic with Slime City and Slime City Massacre?
Yes.
Well, these are all distributor questions.
Yes.
All distributor questions.
I think what we need is a telethon. I think we need to do like a Slime City Massacre telethon and actually like decapitate somebody on the telephone, like put applications on kids, and you know, have people like with Coke bottles coming out of their eyes, you know, blood gushing out of their eyes, right there on TV. Do like a Zoom version of that, attach it to PayPal. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. We got to make an event.
It'll go viral.
Will you sing and dance, Robert? Or will you sing and Mary will dance?
If you want to make money, I won't dance. Don't ask me.
I mean, Debbie, you made Model Hunger for around the same budget, and you know the realities of money coming in from distributors. It's rough.
Well,
very difficult.
I mean, I do and I don't, because it's not financially my movie. But the problem with Model Hunger is it was just, you know, whatever I wanted my cut to be. It wasn't like, and that's why it does not stream anywhere. Tubi, actually. Tubi. So I can't say nowhere, but nowhere that charges money. Because it, you know, and forget about like if it's a rough movie or if it's a smooth movie, forget that. It's the content is too crazy, like just from the get-go, and then, you know, you can go from there, but content is too
right,
too crazy.
Has streaming destroyed this type of filmmaking?
Well, the internet has certainly destroyed any possibility of independent filmmakers making money. I have made one movie that turned a profit, and that was the movie I produced for Sam Qualiana, Snow Shark, Ancient Snow Beast. And the only reason it turned a profit was that we made that movie for $6 grand. These distributors do not pay money up front unless you have big names and real production values. And even then, they usually don't get what they're worth. It's all back end deal, and the back end is shit. It's absolute shit.
Right.
I'm not going to say who it is,
and
but one person involved with Slime City has an agent, gets a new agent every 10 years or so, and I hear from that agent, why hasn't this person seen money from Slime City? Are you kidding me?
What?
This, you know, it's been released on you released 100 copies on VHS last year. Where's the profit? And I'm like, do you know how hard I've had to work just to keep these films available so that people can see them, so that they're not gone and forgotten? There's no money coming in. We never broke even. This thing's not going to make a profit in my lifetime. And he's asking me to turn over 30 years worth of records. I'm like, what? So I have to sit here and write a book basically explaining what our different deals were, why this one went south, this guy, this distributor's in prison, blah, 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 you know, and they just don't turn a profit at this level. And that's why so many filmmakers who have had a few cult films that fans love have spent 10, 15, 20 years making lifetime Christmas movies, because those movies pay, they get released. Doesn't matter if the filmmakers don't give a shit about them. They move on to the next job. They make a good living. And once in a while, they can do something they really care about. It becomes a job. I've never really had that opportunity to sell out and have just a job. I can only make these things that I care about.
I mean, you've just summed up like 80% of my friends. I mean, that's how they get by. That's how they do it. Yeah.
One of the films we're showing at Buffalo Dreams is a documentary called Clapboard Jungle.
Yeah, we just had the
we love that doc.
Yeah, and we just had the
Justin McConnell. And one of the many people that he interviews going to the film markets and film festivals and talking to distributors just comes out and says, you know, if you're getting into this business because you think it's easy money, you're in the wrong business. And he's right. Go sell swimming pools and you'll make more money than you do as an independent filmmaker.
Well, you know what? Let me jump in and just say, but it's always been that way. Because in the, you know, with the Sam Arkoff's ticket, putting their you know, film reels under their arms and having to take it from theater to theater to theater to make a profit. And they did then. And then everything turning to cable, and then everything turning, well, the drive-in, of course, but the DVD always chasing what is making money or hopefully making money. It's always been the way. Like, they used to laugh at $100,000 films. That used to be the horribly low budget movie, right? 70s, 80s, 90s maybe. But now to turn a profit with streaming for pennies, I mean, what, you have to make a movie like Greg said for $5,000, $6,000. Otherwise, are you ready to eat that money? Who's ready to eat that money? I don't know. You have to do it for art, because that's the brutal truth. I mean, and that's,
the classic example of Night of the Living Dead and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, those films went on to make a lot of money, but the filmmakers never saw it. They got screwed by the distributors. The distributors made all that money. The mafia was involved with the release of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They got all that money. Fred Olen Ray did a movie that was released by the same distributor as Slime City, the guys who went to prison. The guys were involved with porn, and there was a murder. They just disappeared for 10 years. I didn't know what happened to it. They were just gone. But they're the guys in prison. And I remember Fred saying to me that when video started, the porn distributors who got into distributing regular movies, at first, they were the only honest brokers. They were the only ones not screwing the filmmakers. But eventually they learned to rip off the filmmakers too.
Right.
All that being said, you told me, off air that Slime City Massacre is your favorite movie. So,
it is my favorite movie.
Making money and everything. What makes it your favorite movie? Is it your favorite movie because you think it's the best movie, or is it because of your experience of making the movie?
Well, first of all, there's no separating. There's no separating the two. When I watch these movies, they're home movies. And I remember the amazing summer I had making Slime City, and I remember the amazing summer I had making Slime City Massacre. Those are the two greatest experiences I've had making a movie. And I have worked on ones with much bigger budgets at this point. The last two had $250,000 budgets. Different set of headaches. There's always headaches. They're just different ones. Slime City Massacre, of all my films, is the one that is the closest to what I wanted it to be when I wrote the script. All these things change once you get on set, but that's the one that's closest to what I envisioned. And I actually think, and it's interesting because Slime City fans are split. Some Slime City fans hate Slime City Massacre. Some like them equally. A few like Slime City Massacre more. But I think that Slime City Massacre is an incredibly original film. I don't think there's any film like it. And it's a sequel. It's got concepts from the first film, but it's its own animal. And I don't think there's anything like it out there.
I've actually said that Slime City Massacre is the Godfather 2 of horror films. And it's because it does the exact same thing. It goes to the prequel and the sequel. And, you have to see Slime City to fill in the blank.
It's funny, when we did it, I remember I would share clips of different cast members.
Godfather too. I love
it. It absolutely is. Structurally, Slime City Massacre is.
You are correct. And in Slime City Apocalypse, when Zachary and Ruby come back from the Himalayas,
saw Godfather 3. Yeah.
There's actually a scene of them hoisting up the sign for Zachary Devin's soup kitchen, just like Jenko Olive Oil.
Just don't let Sophia Coppola into Slime City Apocalypse. Just keep her away.
Hey, Greg, you have to then put, like, maybe in part 4 or the end of part 3, the Planet of the Apes with the Statue of Liberty head. You have to have the slime head, Robert Craig's slime head. Sorry.
Debbie, I've already mined. I've already mined Planet of the Apes for Slime City. Slime City Massacre, the doll that you and Lee and Jennifer and Keelan have, that's the doll from Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
and we lifted the audio of it saying "Mama" from Planet of the Apes.
Oh, We can't use his head in the end of part
Well,
3
Sort
and
of,
just say,
sort of
you
repeating my own obscure
damn
joke.
dirty slime people, or something better.
Time to
But
slime. Time to slime.
yeah, be awesome.
For Mary and Craig, how do you compare the two movies since you're in both of them?
Well, it's funny because given that Slime City Massacre was made for the same amount of money, it's stunning to me. It's cinematic, ambition. And I have to say, I think that Slime City Massacre is the better movie because there's less me in it. Just everyone else bringing their talents to bear, and all the different stories that are allowed to thread through it. It's just such a wonderfully exquisite little narrative ballet. I'm just a huge fan of that movie, and all the performances in it are just remarkably committed in a way that we weren't ready for in Slime City. We did our best, but when even me and Mary coming back for Slime City Massacre, we came back loaded for bear. It was a whole different experience. There was none of that trepidation, none of that, oh, am I doing this right? Sort of anxiety, just a lot more confidence, a lot more fun. I will always love Slime City. It's just a great movie. It's such a work of integrity. But Slime City Massacre is it's an explosion. It's just a different film, and really wonderful for what it is. I just loved it. I thought it was great.
I agree.
What I love about, I'm gonna cut in, Mary. Let me just say this.
Yeah.
I love Slime City because why? It's a slice of a time that you can't recreate. And it is so good. It's original. It's not 87, right? 1987, released in 88, I guess. You can't recreate those New York locations and that feeling and that authenticity and that pureness. You can't recreate it. Anyway, sorry, Mary.
No, I agree. I agree, Debbie. When I watched it last week again, when we were doing it, you don't ever think you're doing a period piece. But when I watched it the other night, I'm like, wow, it really is evocative of the 80s. It's just every piece of wardrobe. We were also young and trying, I think, so hard with Slime City Massacre. So that is just, I think, a piece of our hearts. And then for Slime City Massacre to come back, it was like, I don't know, almost like coming home. I know for me, coming up to Buffalo, my mother had just died 3 weeks before. So to come and to just kind of get out of my head, get out of my own way. And it was just so much fun to do Slime City Massacre. So for me, it kind of just took me out of my life and away from everything that I was thinking, and just threw me into something that I'm just really proud of. The production values look so good. That set is amazing. That building, all of the acting talent is in it. It really holds up, and it was really fun to watch again.
Yeah. Kind of what Debbie just said there. I mentioned on the show a lot. I always like that era of New York movies that are really gritty, and like the Basket Case and Maniac, and just any kind of movie from that era from New York, big or small, even like Taxi Driver or something. They have
absolutely, love it.
Time capsule movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was your background? And that's your first movie, Slime City, Greg. Like, did you go to film school, or how did it come about that you make a film?
I went to film school for 1 year, and as it turns out, I should have gone for 2.
Why is that?
And then I worked on I Was a Teenage Zombie. I had already written Slime City. I volunteered to be production manager, and I Was a Teenage Zombie. And
got me a job on that one.
I Was a Teenage Zombie was supposed to be a dry run so that Robert And Peter Clark, who is the cameraman and co-producer on Slime City, died back in 2000, so that the three of us could learn how to make movies. So we basically spent all of I Was a Teenage Zombie saying, well, we're not going to do this, and we're not going to do that. And we didn't do any of those things. We didn't make any of those mistakes, but we made all our own new mistakes. We made our own mistakes.
Greg, if you went to year 2 of film school, you would have had that class on distribution.
I would have known a little more about sound recording. Like I cannot watch Slime City without saying camera should have been at the other spot here. Camera should have been at the other spot. I mean, I just see everything that just somebody who watched as much TV as I do should have known. This is a jump cut. That's a jump cut. But you know, it is what it is.
Greg said when he watches a movie, it's like a home movie. So like Brooke, when you watch your own movie, do you see it as a movie or do you see it as, you know, the experience of making the movie?
That's a great question. Both, I think. I think when I first watch a movie like Slime City Massacre, I watch it from the behind the scenes perspective, you know, and see what goes on. And in fact, again, for all the filmmakers who are watching this and the indie filmmakers especially, think about what Greg just said when he discussed the budget, you know, and think about Slime City Massacre and the amount of talent and characters and cast and crew involved, and the, you know, art direction that's incredible, the color schemes and the practical effects and CGI. It's pretty extraordinary. So when I think of it from that perspective, I'm like, this is amazing. You know, of course, I'm an insecure actress who always, from the acting perspective, you know, watches it and critiques myself, and I could have, should have, would have done everything differently. And that's just how I am and who I am and how I'm built. So, but I really love to look at cinema from the behind the scenes. I don't fancy myself a filmmaker, but I am certainly a producer after many years. And I can pick out the every nuance now and the technicals. And so I do watch films from that perspective now.
Trista, did you have a question?
No, I don't know. I was so into what you were saying that I forgot about my questions. But I'd like to piggyback on I guess what you're saying, because the whole time you were talking, I was like, how do I watch movies? Like I'm trying to see if I can relate to you. And I think when I was watching Slime Cities, I really just watched them as films. Like the way, Greg, you're saying, you can tell stuff, like as an audience, I couldn't, not at any point did anything like that occur to me. The only thing that was happening, the only thing I was like, are they both married? Like maybe that was the one thing I was like, oh, but like halfway through the movie, by the way, I was like, oh, I've been watching the same actress. Yeah. But besides that, I guess I want to talk about the end of Slime City, Mary, and how fun was that? Or were you just exhausted because you were working so hard? Because as an actress, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, this looks so fun. I know he talked a little about how the floor was manufactured and how the
big battle scene, though. Yeah, the big fight scene.
But I'd love to hear it from you as an actor, how that went.
Well, it was technical. I remember it being very technical. And I also remember, I mean, Greg's not kidding. I would be sleeping in a corner and they would wake up and put the meat cleaver in my hand because time was short and we had to get through it. As a matter of fact, when we were watching it the other night, my husband said, "Oh, you just woke up there, didn't you?" I was like, "You can't tell that. That was acting there." But it's you know, you love to do stuff like that as an actress. You know, that's you know, how often do you get to walk around in real life with a cleaver saying, "Die, God damn it!" You know, I think it all the time. You don't get to die.
More often, I wish, frankly. Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, Mary, you got to do it twice. 2 times is how many times you get to do it.
Exactly. I'm very, very lucky. Very fortunate.
But the whole thing about that last scene, how long did that take to shoot, Greg? How long did we give?
5 days.
5 days.
5 like 20-hour days.
Non-stop. And like towards the 4th day, we were all too comatose to have any experience of it at all, except we're doing it. And that's the great thing about you know, Greg's preparation for all of that was he knew what he wanted to shoot, and he knew how he was going to do it. So we were just totally in his hands. He would like what Mary said, put the meat cleaver in the hands. We do what he says. We go back to sleep, and there wasn't as much you know, preparation on our parts. It was just do what Greg says.
But it was like, it was also kind of like,
I love that. Wait. Do what Greg says, then go back to sleep.
Go back.
Do what Greg says, then go
It's almost
back
like he's
to
been
sleep.
hypnoptized or something.
Yeah.
Like I
There
told
were
you, slime.
3 heroes on that set, though, who kept things going. One was Peter Clark, who'd never shot a film before. He had only worked on I Was a Teenage Zombie. And he was solely responsible for that camera. Do you remember we played Frisbee in the park one day and he got those big yellow boils on his back, the size of quarters, and they were full of yellow pus. He really became the slime guy. And Mary, when he shot that dance in Nicole's apartment, that apartment was well over 100 degrees. And he had to lug that big film camera. And whatever professionalism there is technically on that film is because of him. And then the other 2 were Scott and Tom, the effects guys, who at least worked on trauma films and understand how sets should work and were able to guide us when they were on set. You know, they weren't on set every day, guide us on how things should be done. Those 3 really are the unsung heroes, I think, of the movie.
I give Scott credit for introducing me to Tom Waits.
Oh, wow.
Well, that was your pleasure when you got to be in the cool basement being made up and
Exactly.
listening to music.
And
But then you had to come back to our place and shoot the movie with no air conditioning.
when they were putting the mask on, when they were like taking the mold for the mask originally, they were playing a lot of Tom Waits, a lot of Swordfish trombones, and I would just listen to it and zone out with the straws out my nostrils.
If it was bad music, that would have been a much worse experience.
Absolutely. So I'm very glad it wasn't. Although with Tom Waits, the jury's out.
How did Lloyd Kaufman's disappearance happen in the film?
Debbie actually pulled that together. We were shooting. She decided the film was something Lloyd would want to be part of. She thought we had a really good vibe on that set. We all felt like we were doing something special. And so she put in a call to him. He was willing to come out on his own dime. So I originally just had a shot of the mushroom cloud. And then I had to think, how do I bring Lloyd Kaufman into this movie doing that goofy shtick of his in a way that won't detract from what I think is a satirical sci-fi movie. So I had him do that Buster Keaton bit in the beginning. And he came out for a day, same thing.
Yeah.
And while I was supposed to be directing him, he shot 2 different segments for that Make Your Own Damn Movie franchise he does. So he was directing me when I wasn't directing him. He would ask me questions and I would answer them like while I'm driving him to set, and he would tell me how to redo my answers.
Hey, Greg, wasn't his stuff on the green screen shot in Buffalo, obviously?
Yeah.
And then that was part of the funding or the tax break or something?
Well, when he came out.
Is that right?
Yeah, but we didn't realize that his wife, Pat Kaufman, was the film commissioner at that time. I didn't understand anything about film commissions and how that worked. We filed the paperwork. We had to film at the start of the film. And then we didn't worry about that commission again, the tax credit, until we were done. And he did shoot an interview where he talked about his wife and how the tax credit works. And we were one of the least expensive films to ever take advantage of that.
Oh, okay.
Robert disappeared, and now you've moved up to another square.
Yeah. It's like Hollywood Squares here. You know.
See,
Get
he got the wrong answer, so he's out. He'll be back though.
It's kind of a
He'll be
weird
back
question. Kind of a weird question, Greg. But I was watching a video with you, and it was from Slime City Massacre signing, and you told the story about going to Harlan Ellison to sign a book, and you said like, could you get him? Would you sign Good Luck with Slime City, and he just looked up. He went, nah. But I was just
No,
wondering,
no,
like,
that's not how he did. I was said, I waited online at Forbidden Planet and said, "Would you say this?" And he just said, "No." Like that. He was such a prick. He was absolutely the prick that you want Harlan Ellison to be. And I had a second run-in with him at a whole different convention. I was in New York City at a book publishers convention, and I was there with my first novel, and I was really excited. And this guy that produced the movie I didn't do, he had started this really nasty horror magazine that had like fetishism and stuff in it. He did a whole series of films. And I put the first issue out of his magazine on the table. I said, okay, I'll give out some free ones for you, sure. So in walks Harlan Ellison wearing his, he had a specific hat that with his colorful jacket made him look like a grandma. It really did. He looked like a Jewish grandma. And he strolls over, and I'm like, oh, here comes Harlan Ellison walking right up to my table. Looks at my novel, turns to this magazine, picks it up. He goes, lovely. Throws it down and turns around and walks away.
Oh, I thought he said classy.
Classy, lovely, something with that ended with a Y.
Okay.
And that same weekend, 6 people got trapped on an elevator with him for 6 hours. I'm just glad I wasn't one of them.
Oh, wow.
well, my question amongst like
One of my heroes, by the way, Harlan Ellison.
Yeah. Does that like stick with? Because I've seen you with like Zeb Godin, and you're like, he's a guy who looks up to your movies, and you take him under your wing. Does that something that sticks with you? And when like people who watch your movies, young directors, come to you for advice, you seem like a guy that you're not going to just look up to him and say nah or nope and not talk to him.
Yeah, I can't imagine behaving the way Harlan Ellison behaved. He's passed away since then. I miss him. Wish he was still around.
Yeah, it's too bad
But he was
Troy's done
great.
here.
He
It's
was
one
really
of
great. But that was
Troy's
part of his
favorite.
shtick.
Yeah, that's one of Troy's
To be
favorite
celebrated by a fandom and spit on it was basically his deal.
All right. John Wood says he knows Debbie's writing her book, and he wants to know if everyone else is doing something creative during this time. We'll start with Brooke. Yeah. Are you doing something creative at this time?
I feel like I'm always attempting to do something creative. So yes. So actually, I was very fortunate in the fall to suddenly be offered a bunch of jobs. Of course, that always includes somehow producing to some degree. So I was producing several projects. So then when the pandemic hit, fortunately, I was able to work virtually, like I have been like 15 hours a day in post-production on several projects. So one of them being one that was in the horror genre that I know you guys have heard a little bit about this already. I won't take up too much time, but that we finished filming. Joshua Butler we did a proof of concept in the fall, and I was like, let's forge ahead, let's film the rest virtually at the very beginning of the pandemic. So I felt like a bit of a visionary back then. And so we are in post-production working diligently on that. And shout out to, I know everybody knows Stacey Lane Wilson. I got to act and was one of many executive producers on her The Second Age of Aquarius. And that was in the fall. We shot that in November. So that being said, that's very sci-fi music, comedy, and we're in post-production on that right now. So I feel like I'm blessed to be creative. And now that I know that Greg wants to do Slime City Apocalypse, well, I'm going to be bugging the shit out of him every day until we do.
He's got to finish writing it, remember, for it to come true.
I'm going to be cheering him on.
It's only 60 pages in.
Someone has to say, I have $200,000 waiting.
Killing me.
That script in a night. I wrote the 60 pages in a night, so I could write the rest in a night.
Wow.
Well, maybe someone here in the chat.
Come on, somebody in the chat.
Mendez, if you got the money, you can send it.
Pony up. We're good for it.
Yeah. How about yourself, Craig?
Okay?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm a writer, so I'm constantly writing. And right now, there's a screenplay that I wrote about a family that comes together over Christmas dinner. It's kind of Hallmarky, but a little darker. And it looks like somebody wants to make it and shoot it in Scotland. And I don't know how they're going to do it because quarantine. But we'll see if that happens.
Well, that's probably why they want to do it in Scotland.
Yeah, Scotland.
Nobody wants to shoot in the U.S. now. Things are being shot overseas. That's what's happening.
Yeah, only
They won't let you in though.
hopefully no, they don't want me in.
Yeah.
Hopefully they won't shoot it at the Trump
Golf course.
golf course there. You know, hopefully we'll be able to avoid that little slice of Americana. But you know, keep your fingers crossed. We'll see if it goes. Hardly anything does. You know, but it's a fun script.
How about yourself, Mary?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not doing any acting work. I became a physical therapist a couple of years ago, but I did join a women's drum group. So I've been doing that for 2 years.
Oh, that's pretty
So,
awesome.
so drumming, I've been very creatively drumming.
I want a YouTube video.
Yeah.
They're all over my feed.
I haven't seen any of these.
What's that?
I see all the political posts. I've seen no drumming posts.
All right, I'm gonna make that happen then.
Okay.
I have posted quite a bit over the last 2 years of the drum.
I'm gonna look these up. I'll share these into the Without Your Head group for me.
Mary, you be a go-go.
We gotta like make a list of all of Mary's various successful careers, including actress, improvisational actress, stand-up comedian, and on into like starting a charter school. You started a charter school, right? Or yeah, and physical therapist, and now drummer. Holy shit!
I'm a restless spirit.
Yes.
Well,
Renaissance,
you know what? I get to ride on Mary's success because imagine how excited I was to find out we were born the same day.
Same
Oh,
day,
really?
and we both. Our birthday is November 3rd, 2020.
Make it a good.
Got any plans for that day this year?
There's only one thing I want. Everybody better vote.
There's only one plan on our birthday, Mary. It
I
has
know.
to happen.
Well, I hope you
It
both
has
have a
to
very
happen.
happy birthday.
I hope we
too.
do too.
Yeah.
I will be
That'll
so
be
happy
me
if you have a
wailing.
happy birthday. This has
I
become
will be
the most
sobbing.
important double birthday of my life.
Yes, yes. All of our lives.
All of our
We're all-
lives are at stake
We're all
right
in
now.
agreement here.
By the way, I did get a message, Debbie. Michael Thurber, the great actor Michael Thurber, says he loves you and me very much!
Oh.
Exclamation point. That note from Caitlin Lamberson.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
He's been
We
waiting
love you
since the beginning of the show. I think he was hoping to be able to log on and see you, but
Oh, well, you know, he's another one. You know, get him to do whatever character you want, and he just jumps in. And another one,
yeah,
great actor.
he is. Robert Michael Thurber is the old lighthouse keeper in Widow's Point. Robert has a cameo in Widow's Point. He's the voice of Craig Sheffer's father, who calls him.
That's right, Sonny boy.
My favorite performance of yours, by the way.
Oh, see, there you go.
Excellent.
Where can people get Widow's Point, by the way?
Well, it will be available September 1st. They can walk into any Walmart and pick it off the shelf, or they can get the VOD or order it from Amazon, Walmart, deep discount, all those places.
Very cool.
And what was the date again?
September 1st, although Amazon sent me a notice saying that my copy's not coming until September 8th. Go figure.
Oh,
Well, hope you sign your copy for yourself.
I probably won't. I have some of my own DVDs that haven't even been taken out of the wrapping. When I watched Dry Bones again after Michael passed away, to watch that again, I had to crack it open out of the plastic. I don't often watch my films again because I have to watch them so many times during post-production that it's weird when I do go back. And I know some of you watched Slime City and Slime Massacre again in preparation for this. I didn't do that. And for one of the reasons is I have seen Slime City so many times with a live audience over the last 10 years, a number of times with Robert and Mary, that watching it without a live audience, it's like MASH, the TV series, is available and you have the option of getting rid of the laugh track. I like having the laugh track when I watch things.
I agree.
So I like seeing it with a live audience.
I have to say,
Yeah.
seeing Slime City with a live audience takes it to the next level. There's, watching it on video in your living room is one thing, and it's like, oh, gross, look at that. but then you see it in the audience and the laughter starts rolling and it's like, oh my God, this is great.
Well,
I
that's
would
like
love to see that with an audience.
it's
Uh,
like the
I don't
first
know
time
whether-
we all saw it, Robert and Mary, in New York City at the Bleecker Street Cinemas.
yes.
We were ready for the screams, and we got a different kind of scream.
Were you surprised by that, Greg? The reaction the first time you saw it?
You know, the obvious jokes that are in there were intentional, but a lot of the stuff wasn't. And of course, Eva Lee, who says "you crazy bastard," that's a whole story in itself. just trying to get a performance out of her for that line took hours. I had to learn to love it as a comedy. And then it was made harder by the VHS release because they did a full frame instead of letterboxing it the way I wanted it to be. So it wasn't until the DVD came out that I could sit there and watch it and say, okay, this is fun for what it is, flaws and all.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked awful on VHS. And there's a whole culture of the fans that like the VHS, and it sells for a lot on eBay when somebody has it, but that is absolutely the last way I would ever want anyone to see it.
All right. To answer the question, I know you have what are you doing right now during this time?
Say again?
What do you do? Because he asked what everyone was doing artistically or creatively right now.
Well, I've got 3 screenplays that I'm just polishing and polishing and polishing because there's no chance of making anything anytime soon, unless you want to jeopardize people, which I'm never going to do. I do have Widow's Point coming out. I've got a film festival starting next week, which takes up an inordinate amount of time. And the distributor for Widow's Point has Clint Morris, who does press, lining up tons of interviews for me and Sheffer. So this is like the 3rd one I did today. The other day I did 4. So it's that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of press at the moment.
Babette brings up here the group experience of a live audience is a dying thing. People watch movies in the palm of their hands. You just talk about like watching on the phone. It's a heartbreak because the modern audience doesn't know what they are losing. And I agree. There's no, like I watch a lot of stuff for the show, obviously on the computer or on my TV, but it's not the same experience as watching on the big screen with a group of people.
Well, that's why we're doing Buffalo Dreams with live screenings, and it wasn't easy. Most festivals, everyone waits to the last minute to decide how they're going. They keep hoping that they're going to do a live festival, and then like Sheffer won Best Actor at Crimson Screen for Widow's Point until 2 weeks before that. They thought they were going to be able to have their screenings. Things got worse in the Carolinas. They ended up just canceling it and giving out the awards, and that's fine. Some planned ahead and made the decision to go with the virtual screenings. Problem with the virtual screenings is that distributors don't want to give up those virtual sales, so it's not appealing to them. Other people are postponing. In New York State, movie theaters still haven't opened. Our regular venue, we usually screen in a theater with 250 seats, and Neal knows it's fantastic. Debbie's been there as well. Fantastic presentation. This year, because that theater usually caters to an art house crowd, so they have no problem between art house films giving us a week. This year, there are no art house films in the pipeline, so they had to make contracts with the big studios. So the theater actually wasn't available to us. And I said, no problem, we'll go with the smaller venue that we've used before, where we started. And then as it turns out, that venue's open, but the regular movie theaters aren't. So we're holding screenings for limited audiences of like 25 people, but there's no movie theaters open around us.
Right.
And it was just important to us to have, even if it's a tiny audience, to have those regulars and the filmmakers be able to watch their films on a big screen. To me, that's what the experience is. That's not a knock against any of the festivals that are doing the virtual screens. Like Fantasia, I mean, they sell out every show multiple times. They can't do in a little restaurant-like venue what we can do. They have no choice if they want to run to do the virtual version. So I understand that, but it's just not what I want to do.
Absolutely. There really is. And this is why people say, oh yeah, no, after COVID, it's all going to be different. I can't imagine we're not going to go back to movie theaters, you know, filled with people having a communal experience. There's just nothing like it, and you don't have the same experience watching by yourself. It's, you know, there's a huge portion of the experience that's just filched off. So we got to get back to that. We gotta figure out whatever this is, filtration, vaccination, and get back to audiences, because that's where the good stuff happens.
Yeah.
Well, I think as soon as Debbie and Mary have a birthday, we'll be one step closer to figuring all that out.
Yeah, that's definitely the main thing I miss. I mean, I miss a lot of things, but really going to the movies and the festivals are the main thing. Is the main thing that I miss doing at the moment.
Yeah,
That's a lot of the reason why we went to video. We used to just do audio show, but you know,
Yeah.
at least this is some type of interaction.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I went to see The Invisible Man. This was just before like theaters started closing down. But I went to see it at one of these AMC, like you sit in your own recliner chair with cup holders on either side, and I couldn't hear anyone else in the crowd. It was like noise canceling, whatever. And I was sitting right next to my wife and my daughter, and I couldn't hear either of them. And that was the weirdest experience. And I was like, you know, I'll pass on the recliner from here on out. And, you know, you think I am the recliner demographic, but I really wanted to be amongst people enjoying the movie together. It was a good movie, and I felt like I was alone watching it.
I sit in those recliners and I feel like everyone in the audience is farting because they're all shifting their weight on that leather.
They are.
I think I'd prefer the talking to the simulated farting.
The last movie I saw in the theater was the original King Kong when they re-released it, and it was right before they closed the theater. So
I wanted to go to that so
sequel.
bad.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
I had it planned. I knew where I was seeing it. I knew when I was seeing it, and things were just going to shit too fast, so I couldn't take the.
We were on
my daughter's
on the fence about
immunocompromised.
it.
The last movie I saw was we rented the venue that we're having the festival at for a birthday party for her, and showed one of the Jumanji films. And I'm glad we did it because so many of my friends from around here came, and the next day we went into lockdown.
Yeah.
So it really was sort of like a last hurrah type of feeling.
Mm-hmm. If it's the last movie I see for a while in the theater, at least it was King Kong. You know.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Troll movie or something.
I've seen it 3 times in a theater. Each
really?
time,
My first time I've seen it in the theater.
each time projected on film though. But I was, my wife and daughter understood I was going to drag them to see it again. Neither one of them were excited about it, but that was the plan.
Yeah, it was a great experience. So we're Miss Debbie here, but apparently she's writing a book, so that's exciting. So where can everyone? Well, first of all, you can't really get Slime City Massacre right now.
You can get it on Blu-ray.
Oh, you can get the Blu-ray. Okay.
The Slime City Massacre Blu-ray is available, and Slime City, Killer Rack, and Dry Bones are all out on DVD. They can all be purchased from alternativecinema.com.
Okay.
Physical media should be the way for horror fans. Sorry. Shouldn't all be streamed.
I have a big stack. Well, I have some behind me, but I have a big
see.
stack upstairs. Yeah.
How do I know those aren't empty and just for show?
You can open them.
Actually,
This
Greg,
one
the case
doesn't
is-
work. This is the very first VHS tape my mom ever bought me, Creep Show, and I wore the tape out. It doesn't work anymore, but I kept the case because it's pretty sweet.
Just so you know, Greg, the empty cases are more expensive than the actual DVD anymore. So
The original Slime City VHS.
Oh, very nice.
The original.
Mhm.
There's the Japanese version. What a weird way to promote that film. Just T. Clay Dickinson's bloody head. So they just
It's over there.
on the back.
Yeah.
Hard
Do you have any
plastic.
control on that, like what they put on the cover?
No. I did, I had a really bad experience with Johnny Gruesome. I hated that artwork that they forced on that so bad, and I think it sank the film. For Widow's Point, the sales agent Devil Works, I made it clear I had to have, I know you can't get final approval, but I had to have the right to offer my notes and say if I didn't think it was going to work. And I loved what they came up with. So
Yeah.
It's very hard. If you make a movie that makes $10 million, you can ask for anything. If you make $50,000 films that don't turn a profit, who's going to listen to you?
Which cover's that for The Widow's Point? The black and white one?
The illustration of the woman standing in front of the lighthouse with a white sky.
Yeah, I like that too. All right, so this has been awesome. I want to thank everyone for doing this, and thanks, Greg, for doing this on Without Your Head. I think it was a fun time, and it's a Without Your Head is fitting for
Yes,
Slime.
it is
There's a lot of
perfect.
Without Your Heads.
I thought that the very first time you ever contacted me, and I do
Yeah.
want to say that in terms of the anniversary, Brooke was definitely the mover and shaker who kept saying, we have to do something for this anniversary. We have to. And I was like, I'm in for whatever you can put together. And then the pandemic happened and a lot of the websites disappeared and stuff. And I thought of you guys right away, but Brooke was definitely the one who kept the fire
Thank
lit.
you, Greg.
Let's make
Thank
this
you,
happen.
Greg. Well, and you did. You were like, yes, so many. And shout out to all the media that did not sustain during the pandemic. But thank goodness that you suggested Without Your Head right away. And we do, again, want to just rest in peace, Michael. We wanted to make it a tribute to him as well. He was just such a wonderful, warm, just lovely, from my experience, took the greatest photos on Slime City Massacre of all of us. And such a warm, kind-hearted human being. And I know it's been tough on you, Greg. So everyone just say a prayer for Michael O'Hare and happy anniversary. Slime flies, man. Slime flies.
Has the
When you're having
slime
fun.
finally been appeased?
Not this year, it doesn't.
That's very true.
That's why we need
About
apocalypse.
5 years, yeah.
We need apocalypse next. Or do we have one already?
And thanks, Brooke, too. She was promoting the show all over all social media. So it was,
We all were.
When we put this together and I had the information, I literally shared an email with everyone and I ended with, take it away, Brooke, because I knew I didn't have to worry about it anymore.
I am a cheerleader, if nothing else.
now I think about it, the original liner I have from Greg, where he's like, he promotes the site, is the first time I talked to him. He said he talks about all the movies that are without heads. And so it's all coming around here.
Oh, on the liners in the VHS?
No, for Without Your Head. You say, you're listening to Without Your Head, and I've done all these movies without a head. So it's fitting. It's very funny.
On top of things.
Yeah. So where can you follow everybody, by the way?
I don't want to be followed.
All right, fair enough.
I just want people to watch my movies.
There you
I
go.
don't care.
Follow the movies. Yeah.
I have a lot of things to say in social media. I don't care if anyone follows them and reads them. It's fine with me if you don't. Look for Widow's Point, please, September 1st.
Very good. And your daughter, you got your daughter to post about the movie on her social
That's
media,
right.
which was a big.
My daughter is taken to doing only political posts. I saw that one of them had like 1,500 likes. I said, you have to promote the movie. She said, I don't post about my personal life. Finally, she broke down and she posted something.
Oh, so that's why you want to do a political part in the third one. Your daughter can promote the movie on her Instagram. Let's see how it works. Could be how you get the money. I don't know. Brooke, how do you follow you? Just put in Brooke Lewis Bellas, I think.
Yes, Brooke Lewis Bells. I'm very active on Instagram right now. At Brooke Lewis LA on Instagram, at Brooke Lewis LA on Twitter, and it used to be at Brooke Lewis LA, but now Brooke Lewis Bells on my Facebook fan page, which got hacked Saturday night. So I'm saying it to tell all the viewers: do not click on any unidentifiable links. I don't care if they're from your friends, from your fans. Don't click on. I was hacked and shut down. So there's that.
Yeah, it's like Trista said, losing all the photos, because if you think about it, that's how we keep a lot of our photos now, are on social media.
Yes, be mindful. So hit me up on Instagram at Brooke Lewis LA. Thank you.
Mary, where can we see your drumming?
Instagram, Bitter Chicken. I'm trying to remember what the whole address is. Bitter Chicken on at Bogle 5 on Twitter. Bitter Chicken on Instagram. I honestly can't remember my name on Instagram, but Bitter Chicken. Put in Bitter Chicken.
I like it. All right. Well, I
learned
probably wouldn't
something
like
tonight.
it.
Actually, I have a Slime City Massacre picture.
Oh, really?
On my Instagram.
Very
Well,
fitting.
that's my home page there. Okay.
And how can we follow you, Craig? Not to your
No.
home, but
Why would anyone want to? I don't know. I haven't been on social media for a while. I was active when I was doing Zombie Radio Show, and I burned out on that, and I've kind of withdrawn from social media because most of my friends on Facebook are from Florida, and they crazy. So I've just kind of backed away a little bit, and now I'm just keeping a relatively low social media profile. But I will reach out when when that changes, if ever.
You did post today to promote this show. I noticed it, and I was shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
That there's gambling going on at Facebook.
Hey guys, Debbie got booted off. I just got it. We all got a message from her. She just got booted.
I was going to remember to say, of course, people can follow Debbie on both Facebook and Twitter under her last name.
Yes.
I think she's the official Debbie Rochon, right? I know Instagram at the official Debbie Rochon. I think Twitter.
They'll have a little check mark, I think, so you know that it's the real one.
Yeah.
And you can also follow Trista here, Trista Robinson, on her social media. See what she's up to. I don't want to leave her out. All right. Well, this has been great. I want to thank everyone again, and happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary,
Great
guys.
seeing you all.
Thank you.
Slime must be appeased always.
Great to see you guys again.
And
I see Mary every couple of years. Robert, we have to connect again.
We got to figure that out, man.
And then we'll swing over to Brooks and go to Dark Delicacies again.
Yes.
Hells yeah. Yes.
Very good. All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Neal.
Thanks for listening.
Happy anniversary.
Let's all go watch the convention.
Yes. Good luck on Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival. I finally remembered the name, and then I can't be there this year.
Thank you.
We love you, Debbie. I'm messaging her.
Yes.
Bye.
We love Debbie.
Bye.
Everybody
Bye.
stay safe and healthy.
Yes.
All right. I gotta hang up to say this, even though it's saved on YouTube, but